In this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders, the creator of the series makes it bluntly clear that he is a big fan of classic horror films. We've already seen his take on vampires, and we've seen countless references to a lot of classic characters in movies, like Chucky the Killer Doll from the Child's Play series, The Blob, and even Christine the Killer Car. And this week, they take on another classic 80s horror film, The Fog. This week's episode was a full package, my friends. It had everything that made JoJo's Bizarre Adventure amazing. Great action, a little bit of mystery and intrigue, some ridiculous gore, and a lot of funny moments. I just love the fact that they are keeping up with Joseph Joestar doing his "oh no's!" And another reference that I loved this week was when they found this dead body that was covered in holes all over his body. Polnareff could not help but make a reference to Tom and Jerry and the fact that this guy looked like a piece of cheese from one of their cartoons. What the fuck? The main story this week is that Jotaro and his friends arrive in this small town which is covered in a thick layer of fog. So thick you can't actually see a few feet in front of you. Either that or there's a Grateful Dead concert going on. There's a lot of quiet tension here, and it only adds to the creepy atmosphere of the scene, and it's made even better by the fact that all the citizens of the town are very quiet, they don't really say anything, some of them are completely creepy and unaware of the fact that they have cockroaches crawling all over their faces. There's even this one disgusting woman who has these festering boils all over their face, and they really focus on it just to let us know, hey, look at this nasty shit, and they even show the pus exploding out of her face, and it's so nasty you have to question yourself, come on, guys, was that even really necessary? However, the scene does serve a purpose. It is very humorous to see Kakyoin lose his lunch. One of the creepiest things about the town is when they actually arrive for the first time, Jotaro actually notices there's this dog that's been impaled and dead on this massive spike, and nobody seems to notice this. However, when they're in town, he sees the same dog. And I'm not really sure what to take from this. I don't know if this has something to do with the fog stand, or if it's a completely different user, or maybe it's an ally. I don't know what to take from this, but it is worth noting. As obvious as it might seem, the cause of the fog is actually because of Inyaba the Witch. It was hinted at the end of last week's episode that she was going to come back and try and get revenge against Jotaro and her friends, and that's what she's doing this week. It looks like she's sort of taking over the entire town and sort of zombifying everybody, but what she does is she gets Jotaro and her friends to come to her hotel, where I'm guessing she's just going to try and systematically kill them. However, this scene is fantastic because she almost slips up. She actually refers to Joseph as Mr. Joestar, and he never said a damn thing, but she's able to manipulate Polnareff in a way that actually makes it a really funny scene. But one of the most unexpected things about the end of the episode is that we got to see the return of Whole Horse. He is basically the Western version of Polnareff, and he has the Emperor's Stand, which takes the form of that gun. And since he's on Dio's side, I figured he was here to help out Inyaba, and I figured she was going to allow him to do this. But actually, she's really pissed off at him, and that's because he ran away when her son was killed, and she strings him along because she is one hell of a bullshit artist, and she manages to end up just killing him too, in a really elaborate and ridiculous way, but it actually explains how her stand works, so that's all awesome. I actually love when she immediately starts to attack him with a pair of scissors. It's actually kind of funny and overly violent at the same time, but she's actually not meaning to kill him. She actually just wants to put a wound on his arm so that she can attack him with her stand, which is known as Justice. It takes the form of all the fog in the town, but it also has a somewhat more physical form because it has like these skeletal hands, and it has a skull which has a crown on his head. It looks pretty badass, and it actually kind of reminds me of that one Arrancar from Bleach. But what it does is it actually enters people's wounds, and it can sort of control them like a puppet. And it almost seems like Whole Horse is going to break free, and I'd like to see him break free because he seems like a very interesting character that they could build upon. But as soon as he pulls out his gun, and Yaba makes the Justice actually pull his hand back and shoot himself in the face, and I'm guessing he's probably dead at this point. And you know what? I just didn't want that to happen, like I said. I saw Whole Horse as maybe being sort of like a replacement for Avdol, even though he is basically the one who killed him. But that's beside the point. This actually causes everybody upstairs to realize what the hell's going on downstairs. It sounds like a ridiculous anime fight is going on. So Polnareff decides to walk down the stairs and see what's going on, and then Inyaba realizes, shit, she's going to have to kill this guy, but she would definitely love to do that because it's Polnareff, and that's the one she hates the most. In fact, she goes into detail about what she wants to do to him, and it's pretty bad. She pretty much just wants to cut his Johnson off. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders? I loved it for a number of reasons. One, they got rid of the baggage. They got rid of that little girl at the beginning of the episode. They sent her on a plane, so hopefully we will not see her again and we will not have to worry about saving her annoying ass. I also loved all of the creepiness of this week's episode. As soon as they arrived into town, the atmosphere was just thick, and that's just not a pun on the fact that there was a lot of fog this week. I'm still not quite sure what's up with that dog, though. That's really confusing me, and it's really disgusting and messed up. But Jotaro is on top of something here, and usually when he's noticing something, it's a big deal. I mean, he is the main character, after all. And Yaba herself doesn't really seem like she's much of a powerhouse, and I don't think she'd be able to take on all of them at once. It looks like she's trying to, like, sort of separate them one by one and trying to kill him, because Whole Horse is, I'm guessing, a pretty strong guy, and he was able to fight back a little bit, but I imagine if they were all fighting her at once, they'd probably have a good way of defeating her. However, I don't even really know the full extent of what her fog can do, because we've seen that it can cover an entire area, but I mean, theoretically, she should be able to attack with that from pretty much any direction. Otherwise, just some other aspects of the week. The animation was pretty good. The artwork was so-so, and I only say that because there was fog all over the place. So everything just looked kind of foggy. But then again, that sort of worked for the context of the episode, so I really can't fault it too much for that. When they finally got to the action at the end, though, it got really exciting and really awesome, and I can't wait to see everybody pop off with their brand new abilities and see what they're going to do. There was a ton of humor this week, which I really, really appreciated. I love that they're continuing the tradition of showing Joseph Joestar doing the "Oh no!" So I liked this episode a lot. I think it was a little slow in the beginning, and I've liked maybe a little more better pacing there. And, you know, obviously some of the animation could have looked a little better, but, you know, they had to have all that fog there. But otherwise, I thought this was a pretty fantastic episode of the series, and it looks like things are going to get a little more serious next week when Yaba finally starts to fight against the main group. So, there it is. I loved this episode. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 this week. If you're following the series, most definitely check this one out. It was a lot of fun. So what did you guys think about this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders? How do you think Polnareff is going to deal with Yaba and her Justice Fog stand? Remember guys, before you leave, make sure and hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. Really helps out the videos tremendously. But the best way to help us out is to watch our videos. It's very easy. And you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put some easy to click links in the description box below. So guys, that concludes my review today. Happy 4th of July! Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.